Welcome to this training session, an introduction to acceptance and commitment therapy. My name's Joe Oliver, and I'm going to be taking you through this session. ACT is a really exciting and interesting model. It helps us understand and work with all sorts of types of human behavior. It's principally a therapy model and helps when people are really stuck and distressed in their lives. It's also applied across a wide array of other settings in terms of human performance or people at work or in our relationships, helping us to think about how to build resilience, how to increase our well-being, and generally how to thrive in life. It's set upon a really strong foundation of a theoretical model, which gives it a lot of stability. It also equips people in really practical ways with the tools that they need to make changes in their lives. Lastly, it's also a very heartfelt model in that it really speaks to human purpose and human meaning in our lives. So in this session, I'm going to take you through all of that. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of the theory, the research. I'm going to take you through some of the practical exercises and how ACT is applied. And then lastly, if you're interested, I'm going to give you some pointers about where to go to next if you want to find out more about ACT. Okay, let's dive into this in a little bit more detail. What exactly is ACT? ACT is a contextual behavioural approach, which is to say that it understands behaviour within a given context. So that's really important to making sense of behaviour. So, for example, if I was giving this presentation in my underpants, that probably would be a little odd. But if I was just to shape up this with a little bit more context and say to you, this room that I'm presenting in is sweltering, it's so hot, and I'm just about dying because of the heat, then that little bit of extra context would help you understand the behavior a bit more, would change the function of it a bit more, and become a little less odd, just a little bit more understandable. So that's a really important part of ACT. The second piece is that it's rooted within relational frame theory, which is to say it's grew up alongside this theory of human language, this behavioral theory of human language. RFT is incredibly important, incredibly useful, and also really complex as well. We're going to touch on it lightly during this session, but it's a really fascinating theory that helps understand human language from a behavioral perspective. ACT is also very process driven, which is to say the model looks to articulate and identify like a small subset of processes, some key things for understanding human behavior. So rather than identifying like the kitchen sink and everything and throwing it in the conceptualization, it just tries to get the small subset. So these are the key things that we need to understand, influence as we're seeking to change behavior across a really wide range of settings. Lastly, second to last, it emphasizes this sort of point about learning by addition. So that when it comes to human behavior, that we learn by addition. So rather than understanding all the things that we do as trying to take away, like for example, take away memories or forget about thoughts or not have emotions, which is often probably what a lot of people come into therapy for. This is a model that identifies a different way to do this, which is to say we learn by addition, we add on new learning as we go. Unless we're under the influence of like a really severe knock to the head or drugs and alcohol, most of the time we're learning things as we go. So that's a really important part. Lastly, ACT is a really versatile model. And versatility means that it gets applied across all sorts of different settings. Another way to say that would be it's transdiagnostic. It can be used across all sorts of diagnoses, but all sorts of different things that we humans do. It's like, as I was saying before, performance or in relationships or in medical settings or when we're on stage with stage fright or when we are experiencing incredibly amounts of stress or when we're trying to shoot a penalty goal in football, all those wide variety of things that we humans do. This model, with its small set of processes, seeks to help across all those different situations. Okay, so ACT is sometimes known as one of the third wave behavioral therapies. Third wave simply means like from the first wave, which was behaviorism, B.F. Skinner back in the 60s. Second wave, the big cognitive revolution, identifying that thoughts and beliefs are of course really important for understanding why we do things and why we get ourselves stuck. And then a third revolution or evolution or change wave, which identified the processes approaches like, for example, acceptance and mindfulness, the ways in which we respond, our relationship to our internal experiences, as being crucial and critical. I think it's probably a really important thing to say, that all of these approaches you can see here could be put under the umbrella of cognitive and behavioral therapies, which is to say that large umbrella incorporates all of these. So, for example, schema therapy or Beckian cognitive therapy or rational emotive behavior therapy. And there's ACT, of course, there, functional analytic psychotherapy, dialectical behavior therapy, all sit underneath this umbrella. But you could sort of say the ones on the right-hand side represent the third wave of CBTs. These are the ones that focus more on processes such as acceptance, mindfulness, present moment work, creating this different relationship to internal experiences. The ACT model developed through a truly international, global, cooperative effort. Although it initially started with 3 individuals in the US, who were Steve Hayes, Kelly Wilson, and Kirk Strossel, it's grown exponentially more widely from there. Steve, Kelly, and Kirk wrote the original ACT manual, the first book about the ACT model, back in 1999. And since then, people from around the world have picked it up. They've seen the applicability to different populations or groups of people that they work with, and have used it in a wide variety of settings. So here's some of the key people that are really central at the moment. There's Robin Walser, Patty Robinson, Von Barnes-Holmes and Dermot Barnes-Holmes, Mavis Tsai, Louise McHugh, Hannah Bakari, Russ Harris, Lance McCracken, Louise Hayes. These are really, really important people in the field at the moment. There's tons of other people, of course, missed out and come back in a year, and this slide would no doubt be different with loads of other people who have contributed. I think that's a really key point about the model, that it's very cooperative, it's very involved, and it's very widely spread throughout the world.